there. So I watched this movie, Joker, with Joaquin Phoenix, and I started watching Russell Brand talking about it, and I started watching other people talking about it, and it's like it occurs to me like it's really simple why this movie is upsetting to people, and I don't know if I'll go in depth about the movie or whatever, but if you haven't seen the movie, spoilers, 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 and spoilers. But anyways, what the movie is really about is about a guy who is mired in the impotence of mental illness and societal marginalization. Okay? Now, unlike these other people, I don't script this stuff. But that's what it's really about. It's a portrait of a human being that's barely keeping it together. Sort of relatable to me, I suppose. Um, that may have hidden violent tendencies. Sounds like somebody you might know. And anyways, this guy's taking medications, and he's trying to hold it together, and he finds out that a lot of his life has been a lie. But in the meantime, he can't fit in anywhere in society to the point where his reaction to stuff is the Joker laugh. I can't do it. It's something like, it's just like an awkward, just bizarre, like, it's like a cry and a laugh mixed together. It's like his response to everything, you know. And the reason why movies like this, like, um, I'm an old man. I've seen this phenomenon many times. Okay, let's start out with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I avoided watching that movie for years because I figured it was like a slasher movie. Okay, there's hardly any blood in that movie. That movie was banned in like countries, and like it had this huge reputation and all that. I watched the movie and it's like, yeah, there's a scene where a girl gets put on a hook that's pretty nasty, and then put in a freezer, I think alive. That's like, there's no chainsaws. They didn't have a budget for that. There's no chainsaws cutting people up or anything like that. There's no blood flying everywhere. So I'm like, this movie is just really highly disturbing and effective, and reaches you on some kind of weird subconscious level, and it freaked people out because of that. It had nothing to do with gore, nothing to do with violence. And then like Taxi Driver was, uh, I think before that. Taxi Driver has like a bunch of violence at the very end of the movie, but it's not about that at all. It's very similar to the Joker, where it's a guy on the edge, and he's like he's like sinking slowly into madness. He's clinging on to anything that he can cling on to try to hold it together, and he's not medicated though, unlike the Joker character. But they wanted to make that like X-rated for violence, and there was just like a shootout at the end where a guy gets shot in the stomach, another guy gets like his fingers blown off, taxi driver guy gets shot in the neck, and this whole scene takes like 2 minutes, and then there's a shooting earlier in the film, and that is the extent of the violence in this movie. They want to make this X-rated for violence. It's like no, they don't. It's like these type of movies, they're like so effective, and they reach you so deep on a psychological level that you know you you see the chainsaw working. You see that violence as much more than it really is because of all that preceded it, all that heavy duty, high powered acting from a bunch of no names in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and then Robert De Niro and Jodie Foster and Harvey Keitel and Taxi Driver. It wasn't even really acting, if you know the story of the Chainsaw Massacre, because they were filming in hellish conditions and were literally half on the edge of sanity. So it all just was like it was like lightning caught in a bottle. It's really still a very disturbing film to watch. It's from 1974, and Taxi Drivers, I think, from 77 or somewhere around there. But this Joker movie's in the same vein. It's like it's it touches on mental illness and societal marginalization, where this guy's like a nobody and he's getting mistreated. Like like I'm very familiar with all of what this Joker dude is going through. Being a nobody, uh, having issues, difficult family history, and all that stuff. And finally, he just uh, he snaps, and they throw in a little Bernie Getz in there. If don't know who Bernard Getz is, he shot three guys who were robbing him on the subway. So these three rich guys were harassing this woman on this train for no reason. And the way the scene is set up, he starts laughing at them in their direction, but it's hard to tell whether he's laughing in order to distract him, which is the way I took it, to draw attention away from them bothering this woman who's obviously in fear of getting raped or whatever by these three assholes that are like bothering her. And she runs past him while he's laughing, and then they direct their rapey anger or whatever toward him. And they start to beat him up as he had been beaten up earlier in the film, but some idiot gave him a gun, and so he shoots and kills all three of them. And it's just Bernard Getz, you know, all over again. If you don't know who that is, or if you're a young person, known as the Subway Vigilante, is three young men tried to rob him on a subway, and he shot them. He didn't kill all of them. He put one in a wheelchair, I think. Killed one. I don't remember, but it was the exact same thing. So the point that I'm making about all three films is they're actually too effective for their own good. They cause controversy and problems with perception because of the level of acting in them and the effectiveness of them as films. As far as my review of the Joker, um, it was about 98% effective. There's like the scene at the mental hospital, and you didn't need the background. You know, that's also maybe they got that off of the Ted Bundy story. You know, because Ted Bundy found out that he was lied to his whole life about his lineage, and he claims. Of course, I don't believe a minute of it because he's a liar and sick. The disgusting Sato sexual killer. Um, but he claims that was like one of the things that drove him over the edge, was finding out that he was lied to about who his actual lineage, who his parents were, and that they threw that in there too. And there's like a bunch of anarchy at the end of the movie, and we live in a climate now where we're afraid of the lone gunman, we're afraid of these marginalized people snapping and going to Batman movies, and maybe they're afraid that somebody will go to a Joker movie and start shooting the place up, you know. But these movies are like a reflection of society. They're not a cause. I mean, there's that cyclical thing between art and reality, where reality affects art, and then art in turn reflects reality. But you know, if I don't really think if a sane person, or even someone like me, that is under a great deal of stress and strain and all the time is not going to watch that movie and be like, yeah, okay, that guy, I identify with that guy. He's got all kind of issues. He had a horrible life, horrible upbringing, and he's expressing himself through violence, and he's getting rid of, he's empowering himself through violence or whatever. No, I think you're just already a sick fuck, and then you were gonna do that shit anyway. That's my opinion on the film. But I thought I'd just throw in my 2 cents for a short video on the thing because after watching the Russell Brand thing where he wanted to get all political about it, I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not about that. It's about when you see that effective and that guttural portrayal of like mental illness, and there's that level of believability to it, you know, and then it's like tapping into the fears that are, I guess they would be were latent in the taxi driver thing, because the taxi driver thing was ambivalent. Like he was a hero, he was a vigilante. They made it very clear at the end of the movie that he wasn't done. With whatever, he was going to go through the whole cycle over again. He was going to find another excuse to vent in that fashion. Whereas, in the arc of the Joker, of course, that becomes his whole thing. And but anyways, so I don't know why I felt compelled to talk about the movie. It's just like uh, I don't know. I don't really do movie reviews or whatever, but I just saw. I guess there's a controversy over it, and there's like people are mad because it's got 44% review on Rotten Tomatoes, and there's like YouTube videos like why the media wants this movie to fail and all this crap, and I'm like, it's just a good movie. I mean, I don't know, I don't really understand it. But anyways, yeah, uh, I enjoyed it. Like I said, the only part that I had a problem with is I didn't think they needed to go do the whole part where he visited the asylum and all that. I felt that was like a little bit over the top, considering how subtle the rest of the thing is, and it's definitely not a party. There's part of the movie's taking place in a delusional mind too. It's like you can't really tell. Part of it you can't really tell like what is real and what's not real because the what would be for me Coleman Professional Services are no longer getting funded. So the guy is no longer on his medication that was you know keeping him at least having some sort of stone's throw within actual reality. And once that got taken away, then he starts having like there's parts of the movie where you're like, I don't think this is really happening. I don't think you just open a door and just start kissing a woman in your building because you like her, and I don't think that's it's all just going on in his head and stuff. But anyways, that was just interesting to me that I had just written about that. I was like linking that up together. It's like a movie can be so effective as to distort the perception of it into like if you watch Taxi Driver nowadays and you were around for it when it was released, you're like, they wanted to make this X-rated for violence. I mean, shit, you gotta be kidding me. And like I said, I didn't watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out in 1974, until like 2004 because I don't like slasher films. And I always thought it was a slasher film. I didn't realize it was some kind of psychological horror movie where it was like actually had deep undertones to it and was like disturbing. Was actual a real horror movie. A real horror movie to me is not the guy with the knife or whatever. You know, a real horror movie is something like Hereditary or for me, Sinister, man, I'll never watch that movie again. Or something that gets under your skin in a different kind of way. It's not just a jump scare, just waiting to be grossed out or whatever. It's something that gets deep within your head, and it's like working on those primordial fears. And I think the Joker works on the primordial fear of their um, xenophobia, I guess. You know, that there's this people out there that are like me. Well, I'm very disconnected from society, and you know, there, and you hear about these shootings, and you're like, this is really about a guy that is a reflection of what we read about. And we don't read about it. Who reads newspapers? That's just an old expression. But these shootings we hear about, where people just feel like marginalized and hopeless and don't get the help that they need, and so they lash out by hurting other people. So, anyways, I don't know, just something to put up. I had a couple minutes to kill before I go get something, go get something to eat, and yeah, I recommend the movie. I thought it was a very very good movie, and like I said, it's just it's just funny to me that like people would get upset over something like that, or like there's I guess there's controversy over this movie, and I just watched and I was like, wow, that was a good movie, man. It was a hell of a. If that guy don't win an Oscar for that performance, Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, they might as well just forget that award altogether. It's just gonna render it meaningless. Uh, the job that he did on that. So, anyways, movie reviewer. That'd be probably the only movie review I ever do. Anyways, um, yeah, I'll check in later on. 2 days until uh, dental Armageddon happens. So I took care of my phone calls today and updated my phone information. Got my new phone in the mail to make up for my other phone, which is supposed to be free but somehow cost me $100. Whatever. Um, so goodbye until next time.